You've seen people where they focus in on negativity. The focus is negativity. So, well, they complain and they complain and they complain and they complain, and they complain, they complain, they complain, they complain. Why? Because they are focused in on negativity. Why? Because all right, it's gonna be a brief one today because the library is about to close. You went.
These are fine. Um, I've noticed this about artists also is that because of our imaginations and we kind of live in that realm a lot, that we can be very, very distracted by possibilities, good and bad, big and small. So we'll let you know what the secret is to make sure that this is not gobbling up all your time and all your energy. Okay. Now it's just a little word, but at the same time too, we use it but don't use it well, right? And that's this word going here called focus. This may not be working well in the front of this particular marker, so let's maybe use this one. Ah, here we go. Focus. Okay, focus. Now, they've always told you to focus in on your assignments and work on your just the school stuff or whatever it is. And so we've learned to actually despise focus because that sounds like this saying that we're not trying to do, we're trying to explore, we're trying to get all these ideas out, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. So we're trying to do this stuff, and so we associate it with school, we associate it with things that we don't like, we associate it with behavioral, fitting, two shoes, collecting fertilizers type of thing. That's what we can focus in on. So we focus in on, ironically, the bad aspects of focus. But that is not how you should be looking at it. Okay? Focus is actually a very, very ancient idea that is actually a very good idea. And also, it begins to form your entire worldview in terms of what you focus in on. So, what you focus in on is what you are absolutely going to get. So focus is what you're actually going to get. So when you're focusing in on something, the output of that is going to be the thing. Now, you've seen people where they focus in on negativity. Their focus is negativity. So they complain. And they complain and they complain and they complain, they complain, they complain, they complain, they complain. Why? Because they are focusing on negativity. Why? Because that is either a habit of theirs in something that they've learned from home, something goofy, right? So they get negativity all the time. And some of these people are some of the sickest people in terms of their bodily function. They're some of the sickest people that you know. Why? Because they always focus on negativity. So if your body functions like communication, right? Certainly it's communicating with itself. Cells are communicating, everything's communicating with itself. So if you're doing that, then that means that like you're speaking this over yourself, They've done experiments where they would speak something negative over a plant, over water, or whatever it is, and it fundamentally begins to change the chemistry and the output of that particular thing. Like water has a certain structure that changes about whether or not you give it positive affirmation versus negative affirmation. Plants will die sooner if you give it negative thought versus positive thought. Like it's amazing what negativity would do, but they focused in on that because they like the feeling of being big one. You've seen people who focus in on opportunities, right? No matter what happens to them, they're always like, well, this happened, but hey, my dye exploded today, and so the sudden this kind of weird freak thing happened, my dye exploded, and it's very, very sad, but, at least I had the opportunity to get some time to, or funeral, I get some opportunity to just kind of talk to other people already, right? Like, it's kind of like that. It's kind of like that. So opportunities, all right? So the opportunities, they have negativity. So
It's about what you're focusing on. Now, if you're focusing on, if you teach yourself to focus in on all the bad things that can happen to you, because again, as an artistic person, you're most likely a filthy nerd. Many artistic people are very, very filthy nerds because we got, it was a way for a parent who was very preoccupied to babysit ourselves with art. Right. So we're just kind of in our own lane all the time, say, hey, kids, shut up. He's drawing us pictures, we're good. But what happens is that, sometimes mom or dad needs to pull us back into reality and go chop some wood. Why? So we can get out of this one of these two realms right here. We need to actually, begin to focus in on what the task is, focus off what's going on in the mind, and focus on what's going on, just the disciplines, things like that, So sometimes we be trapped in our own minds to the point where, we focus in on some of this bad stuff out here, and then we don't want to do anything. Why? Because we had created a entire world of negativity about what could happen to us, that we know we're focused in on the opportunities that could happen to us when we go out there and actually try that new artistic thing. When we go out there and try to be a little more provocative in our artwork, I'll say this too, artists. Sometimes the value of being deep, sometimes you don't need to be deep. Sometimes you need to be a little bit provocative. Okay? Because if attention draws the market and you want to be successful in your art, if attention draws the market, it's okay to be provocative because why? It's drawing attention. See how that works? So therefore, but if you're constantly freaking out about what's going to happen to you all the time, and you focus in on that, you see what I'm saying? I need you to focus on more opportunities. I need you to focus in on, the relative possibility or probability of something bad happening to you. And does that make sense? So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up now because the library is closing. But I will say this, is that if you begin to focus in on what you actually want out of your life, you will get that 100%. Because when you focused in on getting something that was kind of silly, like a video game or something like that, you got it. Did you not? So be focusing on your art, doing something for somebody. If you focus on your art, having and delivering that to a specific audience, and focus on our audience, then doesn't that mean that you'll get it? You've been getting what you've been focusing on your entire life. So might as well go ahead and continue on that journey. At least apply it towards what it is that you really want rather than what you're trying to protect yourself from. So, all right, that's my time. Love y'all. Deuces.